Why do I do these videos from a car? Seriously, this is one of the biggest questions I get. Literally 10 to 15 direct messages a week. And it's funny because some people go, I would take you much more serious if you weren't in a car. And what are you, homeless? Blah, blah, blah. And to that I say, well, that's a reason I like the car. It's the great equalizer. I could do a video from inside my house surrounded by leather-bound books smelling of rich mahogany. Not really. But the car is the everyman office, you know? We're like friends on a road trip, and you happen to be stuck with the guy on the spectrum that loves talking about this stuff because it's more than some academic pursuit or profession to me. Living this stuff out is my family's actual life. Super in love with Jesus outside of the formal, stuffy paradigm. You know, I love the Jesus that sat around campfires with his friends listening to and telling stories. The Jesus who went out on a boat fishing with his buddies or climbing up onto mountaintops to commune with his Father in heaven. The Jesus who loved those that the religious and political authorities said didn't deserve it, but God said they did. The Jesus that loved the world so much that he was willing to die so others could experience that love, and rose again because that love was so strong it could not stay in the grave. The kind of love that takes away the sins of the world, the love embodied in the God of the universe, who is love, that came to earth, who liked to sit with his friends and tell stories, breathing life into stories that people knew, but had ignored the finer details thereof, and thus missed the whole plot. Because it's all about story, right? I mean, I could just sit here and beat you to death with facts and blah, 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 blah. But aren't stories more fun? There's so much beautiful nuance in stories. There's mystery in stories. And that's my Jesus, the one who loves stories, the one who loves challenging the paradigm with the creativity that only God can bring. The one who I imagine sitting with me in the car when I do a lot of these videos. I've come to love being in the car to do these videos and connecting with people all over the world. But originally, I started shooting videos in the car because I started this account almost 2 years back. And at the time, my family and I lived in a small British cottage by the sea. And with having 4 kids, 3 of which at the time were 5 and under, as you can imagine, it was pretty noisy in the house. So my car became a refuge of sorts. But then as my account grew and kept going, it became like a calling card. And I began to notice the videos that were shot outside the car drew significantly less traffic. And I even tested it. It could be the same exact content, but the one shot in the car was the one everybody watched. I have a 3.5-hour video series here on TikTok that was filmed with a professional team, cut and edited with a staff of folks, original music, you name it. And I think it's great, but barely anybody watched it. Same content that I shoot in the car that gets hundreds of thousands of views, but done so much better than what's in the car. But because it wasn't shot in the car, when it came up on everybody's feed, they kept scrolling. So I've just stuck with the car, and it has its advantages, great acoustics being one of them. And like I said, the car is the great equalizer. You can't look all hoity-toity sitting in a car, right? Light reflects off the glass, highlighting my receding hairline and facial imperfections. And here in the tropics, I don't know if you can tell, it's hot and sweaty. I'm dying in here. It's kind of like a sweat lodge, but missing the mystic component. But it is what it is. And I think being in the car helps the story. I love stories. My bachelor's is in English Lit. I've been a writer all my life. I love stories. I can shoot in my office with all my books behind me and certificates and awards and blah, 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 blah. But that's not me, you know? My whole shtick is taking some heady stuff, breaking it down, spreading it out, sharing a story, and letting people take from it what they enjoy. And I think the car works for that. Now, for my courses and classes, yeah, I shoot that in my office. And we're putting together a studio for podcasts and stuff like that. But for this medium, the car is perfect. Because we're equal, you and I. And I like how the car emphasizes that, like a modern day sitting around the campfire. So there you go. Mystery solved. God bless. See you soon.